What's going on, guys? 360 Digital Closing Bell here. Week Look Back podcast here on this gorgeous Friday morning. We're handing out a hall pass, guys. October 10th. What, October 10th? I'm looking at the clock. I just saw 10. It's October 16th, people, 2020. Coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Denver, Colorado. We got Stu back to Oklahoma. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, joined by the purveyor of the show, the executive producer of the show, the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, Oil and Gas 360.com, Stuart Turley. How you doing this morning?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I got a bunch of wild animals around here, but I sure enjoyed seeing you in Denver this week.
No, it was great seeing you. It's good, as I mentioned, good to get you back to Oklahoma, out in the wilderness, fighting off bears, lions. What is it? Lions and tigers and bears. Oh, my.
We got mountain lions out the wazoo.
Did you see that video? My roommate showed this to me. It's the video of this mountain lion. This guy, this jogger up in, I don't know if it's Boulder or up somewhere, is on a run and encounters a baby mountain lion. Yet that never a good thing. And this mama mountain lion stalks him for like, 4 or 5 miles. He videos the whole thing. It's the creepiest thing of all time. It absolutely scares me.
I've been scared by them many times.
It sounds That's wild. We're really off topic, not even 5 minutes into this thing, but I took me and Sandy were running up in Golden one time, and I took her off leash on this, a foggy morning.
Yeah.
Start running up on the top of this, this little mountain up there in Golden. About a mile into my run, I looked to my left. I've been followed by these 3 coyotes, and they took off after. It was the craziest thing of all time. We got stalked by some yotes. Never again.
No. They were looking for a snack.
Yeah, no kidding. So, all right, we digress as always, guys. We have a great show for you lined up. We're going to cover everything that really happened. It's a crazy week, Stu. We have a lot of news that dropped. Schlumberger just dropped their earnings. ConocoPhillips is apparently buying Concho. We'll cover that. Markets do something crazy stuff. A lot of stuff going on in the minerals game. We'll cover all of that in a bag of chips. Stu's got some stuff in the international news desk. But first, guys, this show is brought to you by the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com, the place for all of your energy finance, energy market, energy technology news. I'm telling you guys, it's the place to go if you need. We're running stories left and right. We just ran Schlumberger's earnings about 30 seconds ago. They're about to be 10 minutes. They're about to hop on and do a little conference call. Hopefully we can get somebody listening in on that. It's the one-stop shop, guys. We curate the 360 news desk, which is available on the homepage right there. Check it out. It's if you're an upstream E&P analyst, if you want to know more about what's going on in the U.S. shale plays, go to that page. It's the one-stop shop. I mean, we throttle all of our top news stories there, all the charts and lead, all the equity overview tables. Check out all of our dashboards that are available as well. We've got all types of different financial and oil and gas data that you can have. If there's information you want that we don't have, call us. We'll figure out how to get it to you. Stu's also the purveyor of the best, the world-renowned podcast, Energy 360 by Intercom, which is one of the top industry thought leadership podcasts. It's been a little slow because we've been wildly busy, but we've got some cool people coming up, right?
Oh, we do. Just got a confirmation from a couple Canadian authors, and looking forward to it. We've got From Miracle to Menace by David Yeager. He is very well known on LinkedIn, as well as his book. I'm pretty excited about visiting with him. And we have the CEO of Ring Energy coming up, not the week after. And
you hear it here first, people. We don't usually announce unless we've cut the episode. We usually don't announce who our guests are. But if you're a loyal, because this is who's ever watching this show is a loyal YouTube podcast listener, because we're still locked out of our Blueberry account. I'm about ready to throw up and just move services, but we'll see what happens today. I'll give him another call. But this is exclusive here. We got the new CEO of Ring Energy.
Yeah, we got a few other CEOs and some other folk, and we got rack packed and stacked.
No, you've got it lined up. You can check that out on the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. Go to the homepage, go to 360 Energy Expert, hit the drop down, go 360 Industry Insights. I mean, I think the best way to start with this show is kind of just start with what happened in the overall markets this week to kind of give you guys an idea. On Monday was Columbus Day, but markets were still up. So kind of give you an idea. A lot of, Columbus Day is a holiday for the government. Markets still open, baby. Traders trade. They do what they do. And what's kind of funny is a lot of the retail stays home and retail don't trade. Well, institutions bought up heavily today. We saw, Monday and rolling, Sunday night in the futures market rolling in to Monday and that close. It was really the biggest gain in the SPY we saw, or in the overall markets. ES was up over 300 points in terms of the futures market. To give you an idea, the Dow Jones was also up 357 points. Apple was up 6 percentage points. Amazon was up 5 percentage points because, as you know, on the 13th and the 14th, it was Prime Day, which it's unbelievable how a company can just create a holiday around us buying stuff off their website. It's unbelievable the marketing genius behind that. But I'm dead serious. You go back and look at UPS was up on Monday. FedEx was up on Monday because, you go look at their revenues, over 10 to 15% of both their companies' revenues directly comes from Amazon. I'm pretty sure in USPS, it's like 53% of all revenue comes from Amazon. So it's just an unbelievable amount of breakdown that they're doing. Markets were really looking forward to on Tuesday. We're gonna find out a lot of those bank earnings. JP Morgan Chase dropped on Tuesday. Bank of America, Wells Fargo were on Wednesday. When we move over into the oil markets, though, oil was down, and it was really because when over the weekend we heard some very interesting Libyan news. And as we've been saying on the show over and over and over, we were skeptical OPEC was actually going to cut production, but then when the reports come out that they're not, everybody's shocked. So Stu, I know it's an international story. Can you give us what happened with Libya, because that really was the biggest driver of the oil markets there on Monday?
We have been covering Libya and its political things in the Mediterranean. They are definitely not a member of the Mediterranean club, the Club Med. The story we ran on October 12th was Libya. They have been brought on. They were only doing, they have cash flow problems. And so they asked Turkey to come and really help them out. And boy, Turkey kicked the whole process in the nose. And they've kicked it up to 600,000 barrels a day. And they are expected to hit the 900,000 barrels a day very quickly. So if you take a look at the Libya oil network, the crescent is, if you would, down over here. Okay. This is called the oil crescent.
Okay.
And that is kicked back on. And they have now had some real problems, and they brought on some of their big boys. They have yet to bring on their biggest boy. Libya has cash flow problems. Guess that they're giving more of their profits to Turkey, and OPEC cannot control that. OPEC Plus cannot control it. There is no newspaper big enough to control, as they smack them in the nose like a puppy. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah. It just, I think what's funny is there's the phrase is buy the rumor, sell the news. Well, it's nowadays that phrase is reversed. It's buy the news, buy the rumor, buy the news, or sell the rumor, sell the news, because things are the way the markets are reacting. We get a downward movement on the news. We got a downward movement 2 weeks ago when OPEC came out and said, hey, we're going to have to implement compensatory cut, or I don't know, compensatory cuts, cuts on top of the cuts that you should have done because you didn't actually cut. And now to actually see those production numbers come out, specifically with Libya turning on their oil fields, doesn't matter if it's cash flow issues, that's not going to help the price of oil. And that drove really down. We saw weekly lows at that point early in the trading session Monday. 39.15 was, I don't want to say that was actually the lowest. It actually got down to 38.89, but then oil kind of in that overnight session continued to ready back. So, yeah, I also see there was some seismic stuff that went on in Turkey that day.
You bet. It was kind of funny. They carried out a seismic survey, and that has caused some issues. And you take a look at their seismic. They just doubled their fleet on their offshore rig. They bought another one. And so the other vessels, the Atman and the Kazing Hang, I know I butchered those names, but by carrying out this is a saber rattling. Michael, you and I talked about it. They are saber rattling against the other Mediterranean folk, and they will cover some other stuff on there. But whenever they do the seismic stuff, they just got out of some talks, and Greece and Cyrus, just unbelievable problems.
Yeah, no, I mean, you want to talk about what's going on over in that Middle East section is unbelievable. The U.S. shale patch, we some of the final effects from Hurricane Delta were finishing up. At its peak, as you remember, there was about 90% of oil production, 60% of natural gas production. That had a little bit to do with the way both these markets move today. Ring Energy was also granted an extension on some of its Delaware Basin assets. As you remember, back in April, they agreed for about $35 million in cash to go ahead and close some of their Delaware assets. They got $1 million. New CEO of Ring Energy comes in, demands $1 million payment for an extension, and guess what? He got it. But they claim it was a good faith payment on the side of the undisclosed buyer. But you know what that means? That means Ring wouldn't let them leave the room without a little check on the door. It's like, yo, we've already agreed to this. So good for them. Another interesting story that I think lends itself to a larger picture is Panhandle Resources buys out Redstone Minerals and rebrands themselves as Phoenix Minerals. And this is something that, if you've been following our show for a little bit, we've been hot on this for a little bit. I don't know if we're early or late to the train, but I don't hear it being talked about it as much as the minerals game is going to become probably one of these safe havens for people. And not, you're seeing we're seeing ORIIs all the time, overriding royalty rights in transactions, which are basically selling your future minerals for an upfront payment right now. We're seeing a huge amount of minerals transactions going on. Enercom is working with an unbelievable amount of minerals companies right now that have probably, you think, if there's one industry that's got cash right now, it's the minerals business, baby. Trust me. We've got Noble Royalties inking deals with BlackRock. We've got minerals companies. There's a minerals company Intercom's working with 120 million they're looking to deploy. I'm not going to say their name because I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I mean, there's so much money out there to buy minerals right now. And we got an email last night from Director of Consulting Jan Genovese, and we'll just read it here. I mean, listen to this. Michael and Stu, find this woman to interview. The story is so good. I want to hear her speak at one of our conferences. Great, cool, figure it out. So here this is. It's a perfume entrepreneur who's been snapping up oil leases amid the downcline. This is a Myanmar-born, is that how you say it, Myanmar? A Myanmar-born perfume entrepreneur and missionary has snapped up nearly half of the oil and gas leases offered by the Trump administration since August, saying the coronavirus pandemic created an opportunity to buy them cheaply. She boasts a large social media following, said she is a Christian guided by meditation and prayer, spent more than $1 million building on federal drilling leases in 11 states. These minerals? I thought it was minerals she's buying. I think she's then selling the minerals.
No.
Okay, she's buying leases. Here we go. So it's the same thing. People are buying this stuff low. I'm telling you, there's a shift from we're going to operate an unprofitable well, and I'm just going to go buy minerals and collect some mailbox money every month. I feel like I'm doing an infomercial. I feel like I should be like, we're doing an infomercial for mineral rights. It's not trust me, this isn't multi-level marketing here, people. So all you have to do is once you buy minerals, you have to go get 3 of your friends to buy minerals. And then when they get 3 of their friends to buy minerals, then all of a sudden you start getting the pyramid. And that's when you really start making money off other people's money. I'm just kidding. We're not pitching multi-level marketing. But I love the minerals business right now. And I think there's just something to be said about this. We saw that, there's just too many little drips and drabs of info coming. This is how you catch a wave, people. You see an article over here, you hear something over here, you put something together down here. Next thing you know, you're like, oh, this could be some legs here, Stu. Are you as bullish on this as I am, or am I just barking up a wrong tree?
You are not barking up the wrong tree. You're dead on right on this.
There you go. I guess there's not much more to be said about that. So yeah, I just, I really do think that You're going to be seeing a lot more of this. Again, am I a fan of some of these redstone minerals? I don't know, I have to dive into some of the numbers a little bit, but there's less overhead. I mean, what do you need to buy minerals, Stu? You need decline curve analysis software and cash. That's all you need. You want to operate an oil well? Holy smokes. You got to buy people. You got to buy equipment. You got to buy a break room. You got to buy all this food for your contractors. It's just, you got a fat buyout clause for me as the CEO. I'm cheap. I'm expensive, Stu. I just sit back. I'm very expensive. So.
Yeah, you have no CapEx with minerals.
I know. You barely even have OpEx. You have checks coming in every month. I feel like we're in a Grant Cardone real estate infomercial. Yikes. So I think we have to move on then, because I can't be continuing. Next thing I know, you're going to say, hey, it's Billy Mays with infomercial minerals.
You're more interesting.
I wish. As we move into Tuesday, this is when, I mean, like I said, overall markets, really, we had one good update if you're talking about the ES, and then the other 3 days, boom, we saw it chunk down. I mean, Tuesday was fairly flat. New coronavirus vaccine by Iliad Lilly, where it was actually put on hold. So that really drove major indices. Now, it's about the first loss we had in about 4 trading sessions. NASDAQ was down about a quarter of a percentage point. SPY was about 0.6. Dow Jones dropped about 0.6 percentage points. Crude oil, though, actually had itself a decent day, and that was off the expected draw of about 2 million barrels. Ended up being 3.8 million barrels. But when API drops and says, hey, we're expecting a little pop or a little drop, that's going to definitely help oil prices out. They were actually popped to about $41 towards the end of the day. About 40.92 was at its peak. It actually, had some weakness in the overnight session, dropped below $40, but right when we wrote a little article here. Natural gas did have itself a really good day, though, or not a good day. It was a correction for a day. We saw crazy splits happen on Monday. I think that was the one thing I forgot to talk about. If you're looking at what happened in the natural gas markets on Monday, unbelievable tightening of the differentials, mostly because Hurricane Delta was shutting in all this natural gas production. We saw feed gas going into Sabine and Cameron LNG facility both kind of get cut. Some of those weather models had turned overnight. As we fell into Tuesday, some of that stuff unwind, though. We saw feed gas both coming in to Cameron and Sabine. As Cameron was down on Monday, Sabine was only partly open. We saw feed gas into both of them. Models had sort of flipped over the night, expecting some cooler weather, and a lot of that production was coming back online, only down to about 20-25% when we recorded our show on Tuesday. So natural gas it was like an 8% decline. It was up all the way about 290. Now we're back down to about 276. I mean, it's still good numbers on natural gas, currently trading about 283 right now, but we're seeing that volatility specifically come back with these some of these oil dynamics. Stu, what'd you have on the international news desk that day?
Actually, it was a really, really busy day. First off, I want to break my arm, pat myself on the back. Partially. We had Lebanon and Israel coming in to talks on their maritime borders. So this peace treaty, I had called for on Monday 3 treaties, which I had called earlier several treaties, and I actually got it right. I'm off by 2 because by the end of the week, unless they happen before our hall pass this afternoon, I missed 2 of them. But Lebanon and Israel are really part of the Club Med group, and getting to talk that whole oil and gas thing. I'm excited to see peace deals going on. Excuse me. Some really more.
I'm nominating you for a Nobel Peace Prize.
I ain't negotiating. I'm just following. I'm kind of like the guy in the corner going, oh, guys, I love peace. Okay. BP. We love our famous BP, folks. Now, there is the TAP, or Trans-Adriatic Pipeline, and it is helping get off of Putin's gas. It is one of the main things. Boy, that sounded. Never mind. Okay, so Trans-Adriatic goes all the way across over here, and it covers a huge area. How do you like my graphics there?
It's A+ for you guys. It's the YouTube. This is nothing better for you guys.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry for our podcast guys. It really does go from the Black Sea all the way over across that area that's just above Club Medford, and it is really helping get Europe off of Russian gas. So all of this is intertwined. And this is another one that came out. So when you take a look at, uh, no, we'll just skip that one. All right, moving along on to Aramco CEO. Aramco, we got to give them a
Yep.
hand. BP, oh, when you take a look at BP, Shell, Chevron, they're going, okay, they got green energy over here. Then you got Saudi Aramco going, hey, we got the largest reserves in the world, 20 trillion, billion, whatever,
Yeah.
the reserves. They could go for another 50 years on what they got. They can produce oil at $3 a barrel, so they can go down. Now, they go this way. We're going to go green. They are doing blue hydrogen, which is basically natural gas converted into hydrogen, which is very smart. But the CEO, Aramco, very sharp guy, says he sees the oil demand recovering by 2022. They got it pretty well right. So they're betting on the curve. Now, Michael, you and I talked about 2 months ago that Saudi Aramco needs, I believe it was $45 a barrel. No, $65 a barrel in order to pay for all their social programs. So while they produce and they make money down to the three, Saudi Arabia needs that $65 barrel. So, but they're going to get there because everybody else is bailing out of oil except offshore.
Yeah, and you know, I my my thoughts on this are pretty simple. I think both I think BP, Shell, equal are these super majors who are transitioning. I think they're looking at the same data that Saudi Aramco is looking at. I
Right.
don't think Bernard Looney at BP cares about renewables. I don't think he cares. You know what he cares about? Shareholders. He has a fiduciary responsibility to take care of his shareholders. And I think he looks at his bottom line and says, yo, we don't produce oil profitably. So
Right.
where are we going to find new capital? Oh, wait. Everyone is pivoting towards ESG. We have an ability to utilize the market capitalization of our company, which is in the hundreds of billions, to pivot into something that is probably more attractive to investors in the future. Yeah, sign me up. I get what he's doing. He's not green. Saudi Aramco's looking at the same data. Well, let's see. We have a market cap. We can make money as an oil company down to 5. We need oil at 65. They feel like their money's just better spent on oil and gas than renewables. If the CEO of Saudi Aramco and Bernard Looney switch spots, they both make the opposite decisions. BP'd still be going green. Saudi, it's so this idea that I think all of these guys are going, no, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, and for whatever reason, whether I agree with that or not, shareholders are demanding ESG and not just saying have a plan. They're saying make it a forefront of your business.
Absolutely. And quite honestly, I agree that consumers are demanding ESG, taking a look at taking care of our environment. And you and I have talked about this a lot, and that is good management, good numbers, but then you got to have let's get the lowest kilowatt per hour energy to the world to elevate people out of poverty. And but
That's not what Bernard Looney's at BP's job is. His job is
no,
not to provide low cost energy to the world. His job is to make his shareholders a boatload of cash.
but he is doing that. However, I'm questioning whether or not he can actually deliver.
It doesn't matter. It's a politician. It doesn't matter if he can actually deliver.
I we're going to be talking to a lot of renewable folks, and we've got a couple executives coming on.
Mhm.
I want to learn about why there's a battle between. I think I think we need to get along in a balanced approach to energy. I believe in renewables. I believe in oil and gas, and it seems to me we need to figure that right balance.
Yeah, I also think that I'm just of the mindset that none of these guys are they're not clean environment activists. They're not oil hawks. These dudes, they're like me. Stu, we're capitalists, my man. I'm a capitalist. I'm going to look at the numbers and say, I think it's best for me to pivot and become a renewables company. Well, great. That's not me judging whether I agree with you. It's just these CEOs have a fiduciary responsibility to make money. None of them have. I'll give BP
All
some
take
credit. I mean, BP's made money in their career, but as he said when he did this, this is a 50-year, this isn't a 5-year thing, then we're back. This is, I'm setting us up for the next 100 years. It's not as big of, I think, so that's where I fall down on all this stuff. I think they're all, I don't want to say that crooks is the wrong word. They're just all looking at the data saying, this is where I best think to make money. I don't think there's some mass conspiracy to all get us on electric vehicles with Elon Musk. You know what I mean? I think they could care less.
No, but BP just announced that they had one of their biggest oil field productions that they've got coming up. So they are going to be paying the bills. I think I just put this one out this morning. So BP is not throwing away their oil; they're keeping their offshore to pay the bills. So
Because it makes money. And that's what I'm saying. If their onshore oil and gas assets made any money, they would be like, we'll probably stick with it. But guess what? They really don't. There's a
no,
reason they spun off BP, their U.S. onshore stuff is BPX. Now, granted, they bought a bunch of BHP assets, but
yeah.
there's a reason they spun them off as a separate company now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a Scooby moment for them. I'm happy for the folks at BHP, or for the shareholders at BHP. But
Yeah, you spend $100 million building a nice facility up on Platte. Nobody's there now. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, if BP's oil fields onshore was making money, this doesn't happen. So that's just where make all the announcements you want. Twitter gives them flack all the time. They're all going green. They're trying to make money. Okay, they could care less about the environment. I don't give these guys as much credit, I think, as people do. I think people try to give these guys too much credit. No, they're just trying to make their stockholders money and not lose their job, so he can have a nice, so he can go buy another home up in Vale. Or I guess he's London, so probably up in Southampton. I don't know.
well, I think you nailed it with ESG. And the number one thing going around the world is COVID recovery. And all of the government money around the world is going to green. So very, very smart moves. But
It's a smart move if you want cash. These guys aren't environmentalists, but I've said that enough. You get where I'm talking about on that front. Anything else that happened on the international side?
not on that day. I mean, yeah, on that day. So
Yeah. And so as we, really that, it really, Tuesday there was, as we mentioned, it was coming off of a holiday. News was a little slim. Actually, I was actually expecting some bankruptcies to come in. Wednesday was when things get spicy. That we wake up to the news that ConocoPhillips, speaking of buying U.S. onshore assets, ConocoPhillips is expected to buy or in talks to buy Concho Resources. But as of market close on Tuesday, it was about an $8 billion market cap for Concho Resources, about a $32 billion market cap for Conoco. That doesn't sound right. It's not $32 billion market cap. That's a scam. Whoever I read that. What's their market cap? Give me a second. Yeah, 38 billion. Hey, they're not that big, actually. You think they're a lot bigger. ExxonMobil's like 200 billion.
yeah,
Which is interesting.
we talked about this week, so I'm having a senior moment.
It's 145 billion. So a lot of stuff happening. Point is, it surprises me when you think of ConocoPhillips as a super major. It's only a $32 billion market cap. I mean, it is, but compared to Exxon and Chevron, they are, they're lagging. So my point is, we hear this deal, and it's just a leak. Deal hasn't been announced, no terms have been announced, which probably means one of two things. One, there's we probably know, either leaky banker talk. I don't think that's the case. I really think what the case is that this is coming from Concho. I think there's multiple bidders involved. I think they're trying to drive up the price. I think probably the other offers they have are more of a merger, which does not lend itself to a change of control package. I think these guys at Concho have 44 million reasons why they want to be acquired versus merge with. If you catch my drift, if you go look at our Oil and Gas 360 article we ran on the news desk, I mean, these guys make out like fat cats. They can buy a lot of lake houses on Lake Tenkiller, Stu.
Oh, absolutely.
They can buy a large amount of lake houses with that change of control. So, I think Conoco's probably a little upset right now. They're probably not to do it, but this probably, what this probably means is it's a good deal for ConocoPhillips. This probably means that it's low premium. It's probably all stock. There's probably little cash in it. Which, again, it's whenever you hear a low premium all stock deal, who's ever getting acquired, their shareholders are getting examined up. You know what? It's a
river. Hey,
yeah. If you're a Concho shareholder, first off, if you're a Concho employee, save your bucks. Don't keep it light on the credit card this month. That's all I'll say. I just when I hear low premium, all stock, I mean, talk about fiduciary responsibility, Stu. That's where some of these change of control packages get me a little bit, because now you've misaligned the incentive. The incentive is not let's make money for our investors. The incentive is let's get acquired as quickly as possible and close this deal. And I mean, they'll never say that's why they're doing this, and maybe it's not. But the more I sat on this deal, we ran it on Wednesday. We brought in President of Entercom Airfare. He likes the deal. I like the deal if I'm ConocoPhillips. If I'm ConocoPhillips, I love this deal. Concho actually has some Permian assets that make money at pricing. You can actually scale some of these assets. ConocoPhillips is one of the more active super majors in the Permian Basin, specifically when they're Delaware. I like the way their assets line up with each other. I just, if you're Concho, and so this is where the other, not the third angle, but the other thing is, when we talked about M&A deals happening, I think if you had sort of looked back and 4 months ago and said, okay, who are the companies acquiring? I think you say Concho was a buyer. I would have said Concho would be acquiring some of these smaller cap companies. And with news of them switching and saying, no, we're selling, I think that doesn't lend itself well to this idea of we're going to have some crazy M&A market come up and all of these, we're going to see all of this combining. No, I mean, if Concho's looking at all these deals and saying, hey, we can either become a $10 to $15 billion market cap company, or we can just sell out, the returns look more attractive on selling out. Now, again, is that just how the is again, you have to see if the board approves this. We have to see if any of this actually goes through. But, I think this has some very interesting effects for the long term or the short term and medium term M&A talks if this goes through, because, Concho should be a buyer. In any other market, Concho's a buyer. They're and selling out now is selling out as probably the lowest point of your market valuation. I mean, Concho, man, let's just give you guys an idea. Let's just look at the stock price this year on Concho. Be ready. It's going to be bad. Oh, since December, their stock was at one time trading at 92.90 in December 2020, or excuse me, December 2019, January 2020. Now their stock's trading at 49.54. That's like 45% rip. And now we're selling out at the trough. Ugh, I don't know. I don't know. You guys have the cap you guys have the ability to maybe ride this thing out a little bit. Um,
I think
and I think them
management.
choosing to exit and get off the highway does not bode well for other Permian players who aren't in. Who are? I mean, they only have 2.4 billion in callable notes here in the next 2 years. I mean, their debt position's not bad. Are they rich with liquidity? No, but they've got great assets. I wouldn't say great. I good, and good assets in this onshore U.S. environment. If you hear me say good assets, think great. Because I don't really think they're already great assets onshore. So just what so I think they're average assets, which again, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Stu? I've talked for enough about this deal.
I think it is a interesting deal, and I like what you and Aaron said, and that is we're going to cover it more once the details come out.
Again, yeah, it's
But
like what they say with real estate: location, location, location. It's all about the details, the details, the details.
and
Go.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh no, I think we're going to cover it again in more detail, like you and Aaron said.
I 100% agree. On that same day, CDEV, Centennial Development Resources, also re-upped their liquidity position, updated the financial health, 35 million new or no, that was Chaparral Energy. Excuse me. They have a $300 million liquidity borrowing base, which is good. They didn't get that cut at all, which is very interesting. So their stock rose pretty heavily. It was about 4% that day, so it's good to see. Good to see them on the upside swing. What did we have on the international side that day? It looked like OPEC doing some production cuts. Turkey's got some huge gas on the plate. What do we got?
I was sitting here looking at this, and when you sit here and look, and you got the president of Turkey is arranging a gender reveal party. I mean, this was one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. In the Black Sea, they had a heck of a find, a 320 billion cubic meter oil and gas, or mostly gas field. And so he's making a photo op and a gender reveal party to hide the fact that they're going to announce their new find on the reserves on this thing. And he's going to announce that it's a baby boy 11 trillion cubic feet. I just thought it was political.
That's with the T, right? I'm hearing that correct. That's with a T.
Yeah, 11.3 trillion. That's a gas find. And the thing that's really good for Turkey on this and the rest of the world to keep Turkey from taking over the Mediterranean, and that is that it's in the Black Sea. Now, I still got tickled. Here he is going, it's gas. I believe you came up with the punchline. If it's gas, if the gender reveal party comes up, you said if it was.
Oh no, I'm just waiting for the oil field gender reveal party where you go drill a well, and if you strike oil, it's a boy. If you strike gas, it's a girl.
Oh, but you did.
You gas to surface, everybody throws pink on. If you blow it out and it starts raining droplets, it's a boy. Where's that gender reveal party?
Oh yeah.
Somebody needs to do that.
Do what?
I said somebody needs to do that. If somebody sends us a video of that gender reveal party, you can have a free sponsorship for a year on the show. I guarantee it. I will talk about it every single day.
Absolutely. Hey, the other one, here's the EIA, and I thought this was really interesting. They're covering the rest of the world, the U.S. energy information. If you take a look for our podcast listeners, we're talking about a graph, and we have, here we go. Here's all these flat lines over here, okay? And then we have the line going up this way. Those are renewables. So if you see the renewables in this high tech kind of a thing, and then you see all these other lines, let me tell you what these other lines are. Coal is this top flat line. That means the CO2 output is going to remain the same in India, the Asian. It's unbelievable that they are saying that it's going to be a lot better. Now, the renewables, look at this. It is going to take up the difference that's required for, and this is including Africa, for all the new power that they're trying to get out of there. So that being said, pollution is still going to remain the same. It's not going to go down because power is going to be increasing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then Saudi Arabia again had some more talks. Russia had some more talks. In fact, it was even Mohammed bin Salman and Vladimir Putin got on the phone. And they didn't ask you and I to help moderate that phone call, but I guarantee you in the meeting that is coming up in the 23 OPEC plus corporation or the National Alliance, I think compliance is the big old elephant in the room. All these people are going to raise their hand, Michael, and go, we're going to comply. And I'm going to put money that they don't, period.
Okay.
Here's the UAE Saud. He is the minister. Nice guy. I've seen some of his publications out there, but he has got his work cut out for him with a gigantic newspaper trying to keep his groups in line.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a task and a half trying to keep all that. I mean, I'm excited for, I think, we would say people have been saying this for 10 years, but I really do believe that natural gas, I think is going to become kind of that transition or fuel. Again, I'm late to this party, so I'm not taking credit for this at all, but the data just comes very clear. Is OPEC going to continue to taper production? Probably not. I'm
a big bull on natural gas.
Oh, we know that. Do I think it's going to get above 350 like everybody's saying? I don't know.
I said 320. Come on.
That was the Kreskin. You said 320. Well, I will give you credit for that. As we move into kind of what happened yesterday, really it was just crude oil inventories and natural gas inventories that dropped on the oil side. Markets were down again as stimulus talks continue to kind of just waver. Secretary Treasury Steve Mnuchin and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi met again, but no real interesting results came from that. The other big thing is Chaparral Energy is now private. 35 million in new liquidity, 300 million in a new borrowing base. As I mentioned, I'm just, the moment I start seeing a stack well getting drilled, I'm just going to start, you can't short them because they're private, but I'm just going to start prepping the funeral. We'll go buy a coffin. We'll get 33 round up because, if these guys, if I see even a permit drop from these guys, and it's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. Ooh, I don't know, Stu.
You got about $10, Michael?
What's up?
You got about $10?
I do.
Let's go buy them.
Let's go buy them. It's a 30. All he needs about 35 million at this point. But as we move in, I get like the other thing was natural gas, DOE crude inventories on the DOE side for crude oil. We saw $10.5 billion U.S. field production. Stocks dropped by 3.8 million barrels, which was above that 2.8 million barrel or 2 million barrels that was expected. Total U.S. stocks, as I mentioned, down 489.1 million. Refinery utilization 75.1. Gas prices are steady, about $2.17. Natural gas side, thank goodness we saw a drop in total weekly stocks. We're down to 46 BCF gain. Bringing really back within that 5-year range. The South Central saw only a 4 BCF rise. That biggest rise actually came from the Midwest. So good to see those guys kind of getting on the train there in terms of storing it up. We'll kind of see where it shifts. We also saw draws from the East region, which was good to see. It's been a while since we saw draws. Now, that doesn't mean new lockdowns aren't coming in. It sounds like, this is a week behind schedule. So it sounds like there's some of the new data coming out. We might see a rise next week just based upon some of the demand stuff coming out. So that's why there's all these different dynamics at play here. And I tell you, but check out all of our dashboards on the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. Kind of something that's just dropping right now. Gulfport Energy released an 8K. They entered a grace period for their interest payments on their senior 2024 notes. So Ooh, they're only mostly dead. Let's see if they can do it. But they also had their borrowing base credit agreement decreased from 700 million to 580 million. We've guessed much means they are out of borrowing base. They're actually probably drawn by about 105%. So, you know, do we start cueing the music? Another one bites the dust, but not quite yet.
Miracle Max out of the
yeah, we got to get. We're sending him over to Miracle Max. We'll see if he can get one of the little chocolate dead pills for him. If we can survive him, but
that's a big pill.
It's a big pill. I don't think there's a pill bill enough. They need a. I don't think there's a pill bill enough to get these guys out of the pack they're on. So we'll be covering that. But it looks like next up on the list, Gulfport Energy. Stu, anything else this week that happened? I mean, I look like we're over an hour here. Are we forgetting anything that happened on this week?
Quick things. I got tickled at this story yesterday. Shell has built this gigantic, it is called the Prelude FLNG. It's got a 25-year lifespan. It's parked off of Australia. It quit working. This thing is, just to give you a size, it displaces more water than 6 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. This thing is huge. And it quit working in February because a electrical malfunction. Okay, this is $13 billion piece of equipment, and Shell is over here letting this go for
it's a sunk cost. They've already paid it. It's a sunk cost, Stu. You're an economist. It's a sunk cost.
Sunk cost. This thing's still afloat. I'm
just giving you a hard time. 13 billion in a faulty wire, the $13 billion wire. Holy smokes.
Where's Scotty from the Enterprise, man? I mean, come on, give me more power.
Yeah, where's Mark Wahlberg from Deepwater Horizon? I need him to come save the day.
Yeah. All right, India, last one. This is it. Total comes up with they're going to solar. If you take a look at the Indian graphic map here is the 2.1 gigawatts of
1.21 gigawatts,
Christopher Lloyd, of solar power all across India. And again, we applaud getting the power to all of the people of India, the great people of India. But I just thought that was kind of funny. That's Total following along. You okay?
Yeah, you just froze up for a second. This is what happens when we're just playing with internet right here. But
anyway,
yeah, I mean, I applaud India. I watched Back to the Future tonight, honestly, after I said Great Scott on the show yesterday because I was interested. So we threw that up on the big screen. We went back to the old Wild West.
I like
busy
that.
week. Not as many bankruptcies as I expected. I thought that was kind of going to be the story. I did not expect to hear some merger news coming out, but I think it was very interesting to see some of these drips and drabs as it comes out. Yeah, I mean, anything else we got to cover, Stu?
I'm ready for the first step of the hall pass.
Oh, if you've gotten to this point, guys, trust me, you are well on your way to receiving a hall pass. And with that, we're going to go and let you get out of here. Start your day. Crank out, get yourself ready for the hall pass on this gorgeous Friday. Thank you for checking us out on the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Dan. We will see you this afternoon for the digital ticker, step 2 of our hall pass.